this video, we are going to fish under massive cargo ships for Florida's most legendary fish. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. So we make about a 7-mile run south to set up near these giant cargo ships. And once we got near these giant cargo ships, we set up our spread and we trolled these cargo ships for hours to stay without a bite. But right before we were about to call it, we got hooked into this giant fish. So the rod starts bending like crazy and the reel just starts screaming out line, and that's when we knew we were hooked into a giant. So we let this fish run for a good 5 minutes and we never stopped the boat here. And the reasoning we never stopped the boat while this fish was running is because we want to keep as much tension as possible on this fish. You definitely don't want to stop the boat and give this fish any type sort of slack for him to pull off the hook or cut through your line. So we kept the boat moving, and once this fish got tired, we started reeling him in. And when we got this fish, what we were trolling right here was this pink and white sea witch with this bonita strip. This is one of the best combos down here in Florida to use. You definitely want to add a planer to this, and what this planer will do is it's going to take your bait down deeper. So rather than just trolling this bait right on top of the water, this bait is going to be a lot deeper in that water column, like in that 40 feet. So I highly recommend when you're trolling, running one of these planers in your spread to put you more in that strike zone for these bigger fish. And one of the most important tips when you're trolling down here in South Florida is the depth you're trolling. And the depth we were trolling on this day was 100 to 350 feet deep. And the reason we troll here is because this is the ideal depth to catch those bigger fish. Those wahoo, those tuna, those mahi, they usually swim in this depth. The only reason you would really go beyond that 350 foot depth would be because you're on a seaweed line. If you're not on a seaweed line, I wouldn't recommend going any further than that, and I really wouldn't recommend going any shallower than 100 feet. So now as my brother Hunter continued to fight this fish, you guys will notice right here he was reeling really fast. And the reason he was reeling really fast is because you want to keep as much tension, as I told you in the beginning of this video, on these bigger fish. Any little slack, these fish could easily cut you off or potentially pull the hook out of their mouth. And another important thing to do when you're trolling is to mainly always have two lines out. When you get hit by these bigger fish, a lot of times these fish are schooling. So you want to have two lines set out there so you can up your odds of landing another big fish. So as we continued to fight this fish, we noticed this other boat coming our way. So this is why it's always important when you're fishing to always have someone at the wheel. So we started edging the boat once we saw this, because now we see this fish splashing right behind the boat, and we definitely didn't want to ruin this fish with another boat running this fish over. You guys will notice right here, we now see this fish right behind the boat, and this fish looked giant. But right when they get to the top of the surface like this usually means they are tired. So you want to reel as fast as you can when the fish are at this spot. So my brother Hunter started reeling as fast as he can, and I started clearing these other lines to make sure that we're successfully able to land this fish. You guys will notice as we continued to fight this fish how many cargo ships were around us, and on this day there were a lot of them, which is really good. And around these cargo ships down here in Fort Lauderdale, there are a ton of wrecks around this area. There's 10 to 15 wrecks in this one area, which is really good. A lot of these bigger fish will sit on these wrecks because this is where the bait fish are, so it ups your odds of getting a lot more action and catching some bigger fish. And let me know down in the comments below what your favorite fish to eat. Actually, the fish we were hooked up to here, this is my favorite fish to eat just because it's so versatile. You can eat this fish raw, cooked, fried. It tastes great in every way you cook this fish. So this fish is now right behind the boat, and right where we had it right now was not the side we wanted to have this fish. We wanted to put it on the side with where the door was on the boat. So what we had to do here was angle the boat, but what we have here is the planer, and this was what I told you guys in the beginning. This is what takes that bait deeper, and all we have it rigged to is that bridle, so we're able to just disconnect it really easily rather than hand line here. Usually when you hand line from that planer, it just becomes a mess. On these bigger fish, it could result in you losing the fish, it could result in you injuring yourself, so it's just not worth hand lining it. I highly recommend using a bridle. So I now grabbed the gaff, and my dad started to angle this boat just so we could get it onto the left side here. So my brother Hunter continued to fight this fish, and without the planer now it's a lot nicer, because usually when you're disconnecting that planer a lot of things could go wrong, but when you don't have it on, it makes this fight a lot easier and you don't have to worry as much. So this fish is now right in our prop wash, and as you guys can see, this fish is still just riding on top of the surface. So this fish, after we dragged him for a while, as you can see, he's really tired, which is going to make our gaff shot a lot easier. So we switch over to my point of view now, and as you guys can see, this is a wahoo right here. And wahoo down here in South Florida are the most prized fish, and this was a really nice size one. This was a good 45-pound fish, which was really nice. So I was able to hit a nice headshot on it, and we were able to land this beautiful wahoo. So we got this fish on the boat, and we were really excited. The size of this fish was really nice. But we hope you guys enjoyed this Barjacks video, and we'll catch you guys in the next Barjacks Family Fishing video.